Just a little quick video. I've been catching up with Scott Adams' videos, and every once in a while he gets into what is called simulation theory. And simulation theory is basically the idea that the probability, since we are advancing to the point at which we would probably be able to create a virtual reality world that was indistinguishable to the denizens of that world from actual reality, then the probability that we ourselves are actually computer generated characters in a reality ourselves is astronomically high. I mean, you can see from just the VR technology that we have now that you could conceive of creating a virtual reality world where the denizens of that world actually thought that they were real people in a real universe. Now, it would take a massive amount of computing power that we don't currently have, but technology is getting better and better. You've got quantum computing on the horizon. Who knows if that's going to take off? If it does, then goodness gracious, I mean, we may have the ability to create universes within a computer. And that's the idea behind simulation theory, is that we ourselves are actually a simulation of reality, and that if you looked at various chunks of evidence or something, you would be able to see that. So one of the pieces of evidence that they say contributes to simulation theory is quantum physics, where it looks like present observations actually affect past events, and that's way too complex for me. I actually asked a scientist about that, and he says, no, that's really misrepresented in the press. We don't actually change the past by doing stuff in the present or making observations in the present. But there are a lot of weird things about quantum physics that I've never been able to understand. If I picked up a quantum physics for dummies book, maybe I'd finally be able to get a grasp on it, but I don't. I don't have that. So, do I believe in simulation theory? I mean, of course, you hold out the possibility that anything's possible, but honestly, no. And the main reason was actually something to the effect of what Scott Adams said in one of his videos, that if you dig in your backyard and nobody's ever dug in the backyard before, then according to simulation theory, anything could be under that. You could have dinosaur bones under that. You could have Jimmy Hoffa. You could find buried pirate treasure. You can find anything in there. The simulation is just going to fill in something. Now, the fact that he brought up dinosaur bones is kind of one of the reasons that I don't believe in the simulation, because the first person to discover dinosaur bones, it turns out, was an Anglican clergyman. And this, somebody who's an Anglican clergyman in the late 1700s is not going to have necessarily a billions of years of view of the Earth, nor is he going to think of an Earth that was originally populated by giant monsters. So what I'm basically saying is, if an Anglican's walking through a part of the forest that has never been there before, because nobody's ever walked through that part of the forest before, which is pretty much what would have to happen in this case, then the last thing you would expect a Bible-believing Anglican clergyman to stumble across is giant monster bones. Giant monster bones is probably the least likely thing that an Anglican clergyman who's traipsing through a previously untraipsed through portion of the forest is going to stumble across. The simulation, unless the simulation was just high that day, it's not going to say, oh, a priest is going through the forest and I got to fill in the blank. What am I going to put in there? Giant monster bones. Yeah, all right, this is a great Mad Libs. Yeah, I don't buy that. When in the 1700s, I mean, I'm thinking that the world proportion as far as the populations of religions goes, I mean, it probably was about the same as it is now. You had one-third Christian and one-third Islam, both of which are strongly linked to the biblical stories. And if that's the case, then you would think that anything that was discovered by archaeologists, two-thirds of the planet believing in what's probably, in their idea of what's probably a thousands-year-old Earth, they're not going to find a whole layer full of giant monster bones that show that, millions of years ago there were these giant lizards roaming the planet. That just doesn't play. So, there's probably somebody who can come up with explanations for that, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't really give that much credence to simulation theory. So that's just my 2 cents. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Anyway, I'm Mike Bertica, and I will talk to you later.